everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Button Podcast, where we bring you business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate investors that have all fired their boss, launched their passions, so that you can do it in the future, so you can hear their stories, see the similarities, and then follow your path and your dream to success, because there's many, many different ways to become successful. And today we have a women business strategist, Yvonne, with us, all the way from Pennsylvania, not too far from New York here. And we're talking about productivity and profit with one small change. My name is Hugh. I'm your host. And Yvonne, tell us a bit about your background and how you went from the business world into want to help entrepreneurs.
Well, it's kind of a long and winding thing, but the bottom line is, one of the things that I realized with women and myself is that we tend to be very much, being responsible, so, went to college, got married, had 2.5 kids, that kind of stuff. Tried to, keep your head down, work hard. And then at a certain point you go, there's got to be more. And so I think that for me was the thing. And so part of that, was kind of finding out what that more is. And one of the things that I discovered along the way is that I'm really good at recognizing patterns and putting things together to come up with unique kinds of, solutions. But probably the biggest or the most recent change, which was 3 years ago, was in March of 2020, when COVID hit. I was in the hospital for 5 days, not COVID related. And when I came out, I had no business. I had lost all my clients because I was doing with a lot of nonprofits. And kind of out of desperation, I said, all right, I need to assess my life. Where am I going from here? What do I want to spend the next, God knows how many more years doing?
And you were, by the way, you were a spring chicken at that age, right?
Oh, like, I absolutely.
Four years ago, you were a spring chicken. You all those things. And we joke because Yvonne said, when I asked her a question, she said, well, I'm old. And I'm like, you're not old. But so you can do this at any age is my point here, because some people who may not be able to see you on the podcast, right? She's actually 74 years old. And at 70, she's like, what do I want to do with my life? And I give you a lot of credit for doing that, right?
Well, I'm very lucky because I come from a family with long genes. My dad died. Both my parents died at 94.
Oh, wow.
And as far as my father was concerned, he never retired. And I have a husband who's retired. He's like, when are you retiring? I go, is that a thing? But I think the point is that the world keeps changing, whether you want to change or not. And so it's not your fault if you haven't figured out what you want to do, because something that may have made perfect sense 3 years ago may not make sense now. And if you aren't tapped into that, you're going to be left behind. And I can't say it any other way. You can, if you don't keep up with the trends. And so that's one of the things that I have gotten really passionate about. In terms of helping entrepreneurs, is realizing the patterns and the fact that there's actually a process that all entrepreneurs go through. One of the ones that I've recognized recently is that, they're basically like kind of 4 levels of leadership. There's kind of self-leadership, leadership of managing a project, the managing other people, the managing an organization. And as entrepreneurs, we jump into the project stage first because we want to get something done. We want to make money. We want to do. And so when we have to start bringing on other people, we're lacking because we've never done the first part, right? When you know that, you can be proactive. It's like if you go to the shore and you watch the waves, you can time it. You may not actually hit every single one, but if you get knocked down, you have to get back up faster. You're really going to get knocked down. And so that's really what the one small change is dead reckoning, which is a sailing term. It's like your personal GPS, right? It's what do I want to be remembered for when I'm 100 years old? Okay.
There you go. There's the question.
There's the question. And so, as you're doing things, you may change tactics, but your basic destination, it may get bigger and bolder as you go along, but you're headed in the right direction. And that's one of the things about productivity that has changed. The The trend is that productivity started with in the agricultural age with how many bushels per acre. Then it went to the industrial age and it was how many widgets per hour. We are now in the informational age. It is not about checking things off boxes. We get paid to think. We get paid to get results. And the other change that's happened is that right now, it used to be you wanted to be an expert, you wanted to have that credibility. Well, you can find information anywhere, right? And so if you've got a service, having some level of expertise is the minimal level. But what people really need is, besides to know, love, and trust you, is you need to be able to help them to implement the information and help them give them accountability and support.
Yeah, like get it out of their head and and get them into action, right?
So, one of the things that I say that I do with women is we take your business, which is right now a junk drawer, we empty it out, we sort through it and go, okay, this isn't good, this isn't good. These are the 5 things that are still really good that you are passionate about, right? That you can make money at, right?
Yep.
And then the other piece to that is, we spend so much time trying to, and this is a societal thing. When we are born, we are wild children, we are fearless and, whatever. And our parents go out of their way to keep us safe. Don't do this, sit still, don't, And so we lose our uniqueness. The thing that is unique about you is probably the thing that your family thinks is weird about you. But that's your gold mine.
There you guys go. If there's your gold mine right there. If you learned something, go ahead and type an L into the chat right there on that, right? Everybody's unique. That's what I always say. Everybody's got their own story. Everybody's got their own way of doing it. So you got to be able to get it out of your head and into other people.
Absolutely.
In an efficient way. Right?
So you put those 3 things together. And my goal is to help women to get out of just the doing, right? But become the CEOs of their business, to be strategic leaders, so that they can make money consistently at something that they like to do, being who they are.
Right. Now, a question for you on that, because there's a lot of people, and I coach lots of women, and I get the question all the time, like, well, I don't, that's not really what I want to do, but I do it. So how do we get them to, is it getting more clear on their vision and their mission? Because oftentimes I get this, it's like, well, I don't want to be selfish, right? And that's the quote thought of their brain, is that if I choose this, like one person's like, I just want to help my friends. And I think that's a great mission. Like, you want to help their friends reach a higher level because you've got unique skills. That's a great mission. But to them, they're like, oh, that doesn't sound so good.
I think, first of all, you can't see your gift by yourself because it's so simple. It's so easy to you. And the thing I think people find hard to believe is that someone will pay you to make it simple for them. That what you're doing actually saves them time, it saves them money, it saves them stress, and it saves them mistakes, right? And so that's the thing. I always say people have a heart business and they have a head business. Sometimes your heart business is something that you actually can't make money at because just the way you're looking at it.
Right.
But if you can find the overlap of those 2 things, what you're just really good at, because, it's like second nature, and your heart business, then you can have a business that you actually love, that and here, I think this is the other part. There aren't that many new things under the sun.
What?
Water is wet, right? When it's in liquid state. So I could teach you to drink water for your health. I could teach you to water your plants. I could teach you to swim in water. I could teach you to take, whatever. It's still water. But I may tell people about it in a totally different way than you do. And so for me, part of that piece of the puzzle is I have to help you understand. If I want to help you transform, I have to help you understand change. And, and I learned about change when I lost 150 pounds. Logically, you lose weight if you eat less. But I knew that. But I still wasn't losing weight, even though my doctor's like, you're killing yourself, right? It wasn't until I had the why, which was I wanted to be an active grandmother. I wanted to do something with my grandkids, and then I lost weight, right? And you need to have, and that's kind of your dead reckoning. That's your GPS. That's the thing, because it isn't about starting something new. It's about ending something and making room. And in between those two things is where people quit. And so
Yep.
when I talk to my clients, I go, all right, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be scared, but I'm here to help you, and when you're in that place, it means you're making progress because you've never been there before.
One, change is always scary, right? So change
Oh,
is scary.
absolutely.
And, people are like, oh, and I, being from New York, you're from Philly, we can sort of say this. Like, I just tell people how it is. And they're like, you said that? And I was like, yeah, that's the truth, right? Like, sometimes you just need to hear the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a great idea. And what you said there was, your heart business sometimes doesn't make you money. First, you got to make money to fund your heart business.
Yes.
Right. And people often put that in the reverse order. They're like, I'm going to do all the nonprofit stuff. And then they're like, well, I don't have the money to do what I want to do. It's like, well, you can, if you shift it a little bit, you can still do that.
Well, it's interesting. One of my first clients that I took through the VIP Roadmap Intensive wanted to work with senior citizens and help them learn computers, but there just wasn't the market. I mean, it was, and so we ended up saying, okay, well, you're really good at this. Let's do this. And in the end, where she ended up with, as we tweaked it, and is she ended up working with coaches that had a lot of senior citizens in their business and couldn't get the benefit of the program because they couldn't get over the computer hurdles. So we found her passion someplace where she could also make money, and she's doing really well now. I mean, and she's
yeah, but you're charging for that, right? You're not doing it. So a lot of people are like, I would just want to serve. I mean, serving's great, right, but we got to find the way to monetize it, and that's absolutely one of the things that we definitely help people do. So awesome. So now we're gonna go back a little bit in time for you, just to a little yonder back there, and you said one of the life-changing experiences for you and your family, more so, started to think about you differently was when you, as your fun fact, you studied abroad in Holland for a year, and then came back. And what perspective did that give you from more of a global perspective, or living outside the US, that was different from your family?
I think probably one of the things was that the way my family did things was not the way it was everywhere. I mean, I was the oldest in a family, and then I went to a family that had 5 kids, and I was the youngest. And I went from, to be perfectly honest, I went over when there was when civil rights was like becoming a big thing, to being in Europe where, being Black wasn't that big a deal. I mean, it was a very interesting kind of thing. But the funniest part is, I did that when I was 16, fast forward 50 years later. And my brother said to me, you've never been right since you went over. So apparently it had an amazing change. You start to look at the world and go, America's not the only country in the world. We have lots of good things, but that doesn't mean we can't improve.
Right.
And I think that's the part that, I think that's one of the reasons I love Trevor Noah, because his viewpoint of coming from South Africa and being of a mixed race and stuff, like, he looks at the world in such a fractured way that, I just think he's hysterical. Like, he thinks that we Americans with our dogs are like crazy. And I'm one of those people. I mean,
oh yeah,
my dog is like family.
Yeah, there's a funny stand-up comedian. We don't have time to do this, but I'll send it to you, about how, like, the dad dies and then the dog dies, and of course when the dog dies, everybody gets sad, but when the dad dies, nobody really cared, right? Like, it was one of those things, right?
Yeah.
But that's how it becomes, right? We get fixated on certain things, and we get fixated on certain things in our business too, right? We get fixated a lot on the negative, what we're not doing, versus the positive of what you're actually doing well.
I don't know if we have time, but I want to try to squeeze this in.
Sure.
And that is one of the other things that really changed my life was I took a positivity class, and that and Ted Lasso. And what I came up with,
awesome show.
Awesome. And you should do the podcast, which is What Would Ted Lasso Do? But when things are not going right, ask yourself, am I being curious or am I being judgmental? What is the opportunity and the gift that comes from this? And I have found that so earth-shaking. Things, so when I came out of the hospital and I had no business, at that time, I didn't say this was an opportunity, but it absolutely was, because I had to totally restructure my business and I had to get clients fast. And so all the stuff that I knew about how to do that, I put into a system for myself that then became my business. And so it turned out to be an awesome opportunity and an awesome gift. And so I would say to everybody, when you're feeling down and things are not going right, say, what is the opportunity? What is the gift? Am I being curious? Am I being judgmental?
Awesome. And Yvonne's given us lots of gifts here today, sharing lots of great information. If you got lots of great information, go ahead and hit the G's in the chat there. Go ahead and hit the like button, give it the hearts, all the fun things that we do on the podcast, depending on what you're listening to. And so as we're doing this and as you're getting those golden nuggets, right, you're seeing that different perspective and you're having those little mindset shifts, because a lot of the things that you're hearing from Yvonne, have come from different speakers in different ways. And sometimes, you never know when that little light bulb's going to go off. It's going to connect in your brain the right way, and boom, there goes your idea, right? Some people call it, that's where the glow kicks in, as Yvonne's giving us a big smile and nod in her head. She's like, oh yeah, right there. And that's what happens. You need to hear it from different people, from different perspectives, because, as she said, a lot of things are not different, yet they're different from different places, right? So we interpret things differently. So Yvonne, before we wrap up here, do you have a favorite quote? Do you have something that you'd like to share with the audience that just says, hey, when you're feeling down or you're ready to launch, this is what I do?
Well, I have a mantra, and part of it is, I have a couple, but one is, I've never felt this miserable before, so I must be making a great change. Or I fail forward faster is to make progress, because entrepreneurship is a journey and you better learn to navigate.
I totally agree. I always teach people that, right? Fail fast, fail forward, and fail quickly, because, we get it out of the way now so you know what to correct, right? Because everybody, I have a mantra that says, done is better than perfect, because we get it done and then what you think is perfect isn't perfect by the time you get it there. So you guys are getting lots of great information. We're going to have some bonuses for you guys in the show notes. So make sure you scroll down, go ahead and do that so you can connect with Yvonne. You can connect in the future. And it's great to have this opportunity to talk to you. And next time I'm in Philly, we'll definitely connect.
Sounds good.
See what live stages we can do on in person in the future. So everybody have a wonderful day. Now remember to keep going, take that next step, take that next action, take that one next thing to do, and you'll never fail. You'll always end up at success. So keep moving forward and launch your business in the next level. We'll see everybody next time. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.